Good morning, good morning. What's up, everybody? Hope you're all having a good morning. Excuse me for clearing my throat as soon as we kick this thing off. Let me get over to the live stream. Good to see everybody here bright and early. What's up, CD? What's up, Sutaru? What's up, Navy Plum? Vivian? Whole minim. Can't see what all that says. The person with the music notes on their profile. All right, let me get my screen sharing going. Let's take a look at what the market is doing so far. Initial reaction, month over month reported at zero point 0.4. Consensus was zero point 0.4, previously 0.2. So on target with the consensus on the core PCE. So, not a surprise. It could be essentially baked in, as they like to say, priced in at this point. Let me get the screen sharing going. That way you guys aren't just listening. You can actually see, we can pay attention, we can watch, we can follow along, all that good stuff. All right, let me get all the data points open here. We'll talk about these real quick as the market rallies off of this 50.63.75. This is an old fib extension from, gosh, I don't know how long ago, but clearly was a pretty good one. Has held up as support here, and we are bouncing exactly off of it, trying to break this downtrend that looks like it's been broken here on the hourly, but it's a excuse me, it's actually a 4-hour trend line, so it's a little bit it has not quite broken yet, but we could see that happen here this morning, assuming that this is not the fake out before the real move takes place off this PCE data. So again, consensus, we're pretty much right in line with expectations. Income up a little bit month over month, way higher than the consensus. Actually, that's probably the surprise number here this morning. Personal income month over month. Consensus was that would be at about 0.4%. 1% growth was the actual. PCE price index month over month was expected to come in at 0.3, came in at 0.3, and then year over year was expected at 2.4, came in at 2.4. So month over month, slightly higher year over year, though, below the previous reading. So yeah, definitely some positive data points there, I think, that could benefit the Fed's, I would say, expediting of rate cuts, if that is, yeah. So far, everything is looking good. What's up, Frank? Good morning. What's up, Vivian? Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining us. Whole minimum. That's what it says. Whole minimum. What's up? Good morning. Sorry, I'm just now looking at the chat. I was reading the data on one of my screens and looking at my chart on one of my screens. I was so catching up on the chat here. So everybody who's just jumped in, good morning. Thank you for being here. Hope you all are doing well. Like I said, we are watching this price react to the PCE data here this morning so far. Seems like the market likes it, so that should be good for the bulls. We've been holding this support kind of leading up to this, and now trying to snap this downtrend that we've been in. Like I said, 4-hour trend line there. We've got about another hour and a half before this candle closes, but so far, good signs. We'll see if that continues on into market open, though it's still a bit early and still within the first 5 minutes of that data being released. So you never know what's going to happen when these big data drops happen. So I'm going to do some trade recaps from the trade plans that we did on Tuesday. I'm sorry. And I'm not going to do member selected tickers again since we already covered those on Tuesday. But if there are any existing trade plans either from Tuesday's live stream or from the member selected tickers over the weekend that I'm not touching on this morning, please, shout it out. Let me know if there's one you want me to take a look at as far as recapping an existing trade plan. And then for those of you who are new to this, hopefully you guys have the chat window open. If all that you see is a bunch of avatar tiles or maybe even my screen sharing, there is a chat section of this channel up in the top right-hand corner if you're in the morning live stream. Little word bubble icon, click on that. That'll open up the chat for you. That's how you can send me your questions or your ticker requests, because we will be doing some trade plans this morning to see if we can't close out the week strong with some good setups. So recapping some trade plans here. We did MU on Tuesday's live stream. Really kind of nothing has happened with this yet, I would say, except for this bounce that we're seeing this morning. It's moved right down to our put entry level there at 88.91. It's trying to snap this bearish selling pressure here on Neptune. looking to break back over 90.47. If it does break back over 90.47, I could see a potential earlier entry here on MU from our previous trade plan. So we could use this stop loss average down from the put side of the trade plan here at 90.47 for a breakout to the upside. I would imagine I would think that it would at least test probably 92, if not 92.90. So again, potential kind of slightly more aggressive entry opportunity here on MU if you decide to take a shot at it. So keep this one on watch, but so far, nothing much to recap. It came right down to sort of the line before we're getting ready to short it, which is where strong support is. So that's where we would expect to see a bounce on something like this. I'm going to move this over so this gets out of the way. We would expect to see a bounce like this. So again, came right down into that strong support, also in buying pressure from a Neptune standpoint here on the hourly chart. Bounce is now trying to fight through this more reactive easier to flip selling pressure. So looking good so far. Again, keep an eye on it if it can break over 90.47. Is it? Yeah, let's take a look at that. It's always interesting to see sometimes like if the levels don't play out within the day, especially if it's a choppy day. We'll see them play out kind of in the after hours and pre-market. The levels are always pretty solid, I think. Yeah, it's trying to snap that PT3 from yesterday. Let's see a candle close above that. Looks like we were essentially holding PT1 for puts, which was also our pre-market low from yesterday. So yeah, these levels from yesterday kind of still playing out, still performing nicely. Let's take a look at Oracle. This was one from my homie Chris, who always has the solid picks. I think this might be the first one where we saw a fairly decent fake out to the downside on one that Chris and I have tag teamed on. And maybe, looking back at this, I think, I'll take ownership of this one. I think I was maybe a little bit aggressive with our put entry level looking at it. I mean, clearly in hindsight, being 2020, 109.76 should have probably been the put entry level, but also just looking back at this sort of run up into, and it's kind of hard to see with Oracle because it doesn't trade fantastically in the pre-market sessions, but definitely looks like we probably flipped a little bit of resistance to support here. And so clearly that support was still in place on this break below. So apologies if I was a little bit too aggressive on my downside entry level there. I mean, we had the right level on the chart. I just picked the wrong one for the plan on this one, I think. So I'll take the hit on this one for sure. My apologies if you got into this and did get shaken out. I mean, technically it's still in play. I'm not seeing a convincing break of the stop loss average down, but with the market moving up this morning, we could see that happen. So keep your eyes on it. I would certainly use that opportunity to try to work your way out of the trade for back at break even or a minimal loss by using that stop loss average down level to your advantage. That's why it's there. So. And then the last one we did was coin. I think we did this one fairly quickly right there at the very end of the live stream, if I remember correctly, or I think that was, or maybe it was our first one. But coin kind of bouncing here this morning off the stop loss average down, or I'm sorry, the put entry level. Yeah, it has been holding that average down level pretty decently straight. And yeah, like I said, I just, in hindsight, looking at it, I don't know why I picked one level higher than what I did, or that kind of key level higher the way that I did. But um, you know, I'm not perfect. That's probably the best explanation I've got. So coin, keep an eye on this one. Be very interested. If 207.65 breaks here on coin, I could definitely see a run at 214.85 and potentially even more. They definitely had a little bit of a shakeup with that glitch they had yesterday that sort of rattled crypto and a lot of the crypto related stocks. I think that was probably a little bit overdone. Seeing a nice bounce from everything here this morning, including Bitcoin trying to push for 63,000 here this morning. So that should continue to benefit all those related tickers. So we are through the recaps. Keep your eye on these. Again, if you need to scroll back through the chat here in the live stream, you can find these plan charts in the chat history. You can also search just from JTW and put in the ticker, and you'll find them probably a little bit more quickly if you use the search feature of the chat. And for those of you who might be newer to these live streams, if you see, because a lot of times when I'm doing these live streams, I don't have the time to sit here and type out the whole trade plan from top to bottom. So a lot of times I just post the ticker name and the chart. So for those of you who are new to looking at these charts, what we're looking at here is sort of a call trade plan up here. So playing for upside with this solid line being our call entry level, these dashed lines being our price targets. That's where we're going to take profit. We're going to take contracts off for profit on the calls that we're going to take going above 214.85 with our stop loss down here at 207.65. This heavy dotted line you see right there, also signified by showing this risk area. So above the risk area is where we get into the reward zone. If we happen to get in above the risk area and it breaks back down below, this is our risk. I'm sorry, break above the risk area into the reward zone, and for some reason don't make it to a price target and break back down. This is the risk area below which you stop out. So put side of things, exactly the same, just going down, right? Solid line, target 1, target 2, target 3, stop loss average down. That's your risk area. This is your reward area. These are where you're taking your contracts off for profit. So just quick kind of rundown on that. So if you go back and look at a chart and there's trade plans not written out the way I do, like the SPY plan or the member selected tickers, that's what you're looking for, right? These dash lines, solid lines, heavy dotted lines, and then where's my reward area? Where's my risk area? Risk, reward. All right, so let's get into some trade plans this morning. We've got a good 30 minutes to crunch through some. Let's see what we can find and capitalize on going into the weekend here and heading into next week. We've got PSNY from Frank Savage, Johnny EXPI. All right, let's take a look at these. I'm not even sure what PSNY is. Makes me think of Sony PlayStation, but I know that's not it. Polestar. I'm not familiar with Polestar. What does Polestar do, Frank? Do you know off the top of your head? Cars. Okay. Consumer durables, motor vehicles. Low. Just kind of getting my bearings on what this is and where it's at. Good job for picking one I'm not super familiar with. UK company. Relatively new. 2021. So kind of focuses on general combustion, luxury electric vehicles, but hybrid. They got some hybrids and electrics. Okay, so kind of energy efficient vehicles. Polestar. Okay, cool. And this would be an interesting one because we could definitely load up shares and do pretty well with it, trading batches of shares versus getting into options contracts. One thing that we want to be very mindful of with this one is there is clearly earnings after hours today, so be careful with that, especially swinging anything overnight. But let's take a quick look at it. Hide my indicators here. Let's get to this weekly chart. Start finding some levels. Holy smokes, this thing has been beat up since it IPO'd. All right, let's see what we can do with it though. Clearly, testing a weekly level here going into the open this morning. Interesting support here, but not seeing enough. So we'll circle back to that level, see what we see on the daily chart. Yeah, there is audio. You might need to exit and rejoin or check your audio settings in Discord. All right, so again, I think this was a good weekly level there. Sorry, just wanted to help that guy out real quick. That looks like another one there. And, well, this one's going to be interesting because we're also going to have to do some fib extensions, but to the downside for sure, because we'll need to know where to potential. Now, is this, I guess my question is this shortable? I guess we'll find out. Not, I guess it's not the end of the world either way. good practice nonetheless. All right. So, I mean, that's probably all we're going to need from a weekly standpoint. Let's check real quick. I want to see how this thing moves during the extended hours trading sessions. The other question I have is what's the volume like on this? Volume's pretty decent actually for something that's sort of a little bit, I would say, obscure. All right, let's go with the 24-hour chart. I didn't see anything too crazy during the pre-market that looked like weird prints anywhere. Still not seeing what I want to see on this level there or that one there. So this could be probably 4-hour levels, I'd guess. Let's see what we got here, though. Yeah, there's daily level hanging out here. Another interesting one, but not enough to go off of yet. So we'll circle back to it. Yeah, definitely got a daily level there. And here. This weekly level's maybe just a tad low or high. I mean, yeah, that looks a little bit better. That's dead on. That's right where I want it. Yep, that looks pretty good. I like that too. All right, that looks good. Let's check out our 4-hour chart. Let's see if we can't get these dialed in, these pink levels that I'm still trying to lock in as to what they are. Yeah, this looks like it's a good 4-hour level if it sits right there. Now let's check these guys. So lots of resistance against that level. I don't know if it's ever been tested as support. It hasn't, because this has kind of just been straight into the dumps since this one launched onto the markets. So we still don't know what that one is yet. This level, though, I think is sitting right here, actually. Yeah, right about there. All right, so any other ones that we don't have yet? Let's take a look at these. Yeah, there's definitely something hanging out right there. And here. Be a little bit higher, maybe. Yeah, I think it's right about there. I didn't really move that much, did I? I think it's pretty close to that spot, though. Definitely something hanging out right there. Here. All right, anything? I think we probably are going to be pretty close to good on this one. It got beat the hell out of. I saw the ticker come up a couple days ago. So you're interested in your existing Polestar position, Frank. Frank the Tank. All right, anything else in this little chop zone that we might need to be cautious of? These are the sneaky levels that'll get you sometimes because you'll miss them. There is something in here. Might need to look at this. I got you, man. Well, and again, as far as options go, stay the hell away from earnings reports unless you're an options seller, generally speaking, or you're working it to your advantage using spreads or some kind of hedged option strategy. Something like this, though, where you could take a small position, throw, 400 or 500 bucks at it, accumulate a few hundred shares. Again, very small position sizing and, just kind of lotto ticket it. I don't, with shares, I don't hate that idea. Can't get IV crushed on shares. But the thing that kills people right on earnings reports, and this is why those of you who have been around in this group for long enough know that I have a standing offer to anybody who wants to trade, especially any kind of short dated options. So, hey, I'm going to buy, weekly or next week puts or calls to play this earnings report tonight. If that's kind of your thought process, just feel free to shoot me a DM. My offer stands. You can send me half of the money you were going to put into those options contracts. I'll kick you in the nuts. You'll save 50% of your funds and you'll get the same experience of trading short term options contracts for an earnings report. That's generally how it plays out. Because you can be directionally correct, right? But still lose because of IV crush. So that's why earnings reports are a very, very challenging uh, proposition when it comes to options. I also have I guess a particular bad taste in my mouth for them because that's, when I first got into options trading many, many, many moons ago, that's how I blew my first account. All I wanted to do was trade earnings reports, and clearly not a profitable endeavor. But then I actually learned how to do technical analysis and trade planning, got serious about this stuff, and that's when I made all that money back in multiples. All right, so I think we're pretty well set here. Just checking. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted on my earnings spiel. But again, with shares, especially something small, as far as like cost per share ticker like this, I don't, I don't totally hate the idea. Just don't do it with options contracts, short-term options contracts, and just straight buy to open. That's the other thing to be careful about. Hedge it somehow. Buy to open like a very long dated, closer to the money, whatever you're thinking as far as puts or calls, and then sell something shorter dated, either just inside of your strike or just outside of your strike. Deal with that IV crush in case it doesn't fully go your way and exceed the anticipated move. Spy is something, yeah, I kind of do that and post it in the watch list. And really, I kind of need to focus a lot of times, especially right after a live stream, because I'm trying to knock it out in like 10 minutes. And there's a lot of stuff I go through to do that. Um, all right. All right, so let's nail down this plan here. Let me take a look at what Neptune's saying. We're kind of clearing out sort of all the sort of key indicator resistances here. In fact, I really like this breakover and back test off that 333. This is a great example of a confluence here, guys. We talk about these a lot, right? We start flipping everything back to the bullish side, break over these moving averages, the 333, 200 SMA right there, right? Continue up, catch resistance near this weekly level, come back and back test inside that selling pressure. So we've got, or sorry, selling pressure, buying pressure. We've got buying pressure coming up here on Neptune and multiple phases, right? We got the flag and the ribbon, both right there. 333 right there, a 2 hour level right there, right? Boom. Launches right off that. That's a beautiful breakover, back test. So again, you don't want to chase this move up. Let that trade come back to you. That's your entry when it comes back into that confluence of buying. So anyway, sorry, quick just note there since I saw it. All right, so since we're already going to push over this weekly level, I think what we're going to do, let's give it some more room before we say this does have another chance to push higher. I think we're already eclipsing some of the profit zone here, the way things are moving this morning. I do see an opportunity over 215 to take it up to 233 though. And I would like to keep my stop loss right here at this weekly support that we would have now over 233. Where does it go? I think we take a shot at 256 and then probably this weekly level just overhead at 266, but another 10 cents doesn't really seem like it's the best way to set a price target, in my personal opinion, on something this small. So this is I'm kind of play this. I would essentially, and I don't even know if this is optional or not, but I would say if you're gonna tackle this one, do it with shares. Again, it's pretty easily done with shares, I think. And actually, I think you could shoot one level even higher. I would. I mean, why not, right? Because again, if you're doing this with shares, theta is not an issue. And let me explain why I'm okay with kind of spreading these out, even though I think there are some resistances in the way of getting all the way up to that 291 level. Um, you know, I feel pretty strong and confident that if we get over 215, we're going to get to 233, right? So once we get to 233, move your stop up, right? Your stop should be on shares at break even at that point. Over 233, start shooting for 256, but move your stops up to 233. That way, worst case, you're stopping out for profit. But don't do it right as you break over 233. Make sure you give yourself some wiggle room. So as it hits about 245 plus, that's when you want to move your stop up to 233. That way, if it does retrace, doesn't make it all the way up to PT2 and on into PT3, worst case, you're getting stopped out for profit. Did you lose some profit in that process? Yeah, but nobody ever went broke selling for profit. So profit is good, big or small. That's what we want. All right, so to the downside, let's take a look at this. And again, we may have to deal with some fib extensions to the downside. And yeah, I think I would wait for this 165 level to break personally. That's where the downside really opens up, I believe, down to this 146 level. Again, I'm not sure if these shares are shortable, and if it's not optionable, there's really no way to play downside if shares aren't shortable and it's not an optionable ticker. So I might be doing this for nothing, but at the very least, we'll have a chance to talk about fib extensions real quick, which I think is a good little process to understand or learn. That's how we call some of these SPY levels. In fact, I'm pretty sure that we had, as of right now, what were we at? Yeah, 510 13 is our 52-week high. I think I called 510 17 the day that we hit this current before the market opened, before we hit that number. How did I do that? Fib extensions. Calling stuff with, untested levels with a, I would call extraordinary level of accuracy. Got to have some kind of methodology to be able to do that. Fib extensions, how we accomplish that. When things are hitting all-time lows or all-time highs, it's really the only thing you have to work with. So trend-based fib extensions to the downside are going to look like this. And just so I can maybe even help you guys visualize this a little bit, I'm kind of seeing sort of a trend that looks like it fits probably right about here. We've obviously broken above it, but we need to use that kind of to our advantage to figure out how we're going to kind of set up this drawing for these fib extensions to the downside. So trend-based fib extension, we're going to run off this daily level up here down to our current bottom. I think it probably will fit perfectly. How about that? Right there. So this is what I really like to see, right? We've got these two levels right here that we had already mapped out as support and resistance levels. See how perfectly our fib levels matched up with those, creating that confluence between those fib levels and our support and resistance levels that we drew ourselves by studying the chart. This is something I sometimes like to refer to as like two-factor authentication. You've got something that was calculated for you and something that you did yourself by studying the chart. Fib levels are calculated for us automatically based on how we did that drawing tool, and they match up perfectly with what we've put on the chart ourselves by studying and using our human brains and technical analysis to make that happen. So potential downside targets. So learn about these things because that is how you become a successful trader. All right. And can call targets with accuracy, which, especially in the world of options, accuracy is everything. Whoops. Accuracy is everything because timing is everything with options. So these are fib extensions to the downside. And I would say our third price target, to the downside. I wouldn't want to be too greedy. That 0.382 would be my next one. Typically, I'd shoot for the 0.618, but who knows? We may not even see the downside of this thing play out at all. And again, not entirely sure. There is a way to play the downside on this because I don't know if it's optionable. Don't know if it's shortable. It's a brand new ticker in my world. So for something we've never looked at before, though, I think in 15 minutes we've put together a fairly sound technical analysis and plan, right? So this is what we want to do. Plan our trades, trade our plans. All right. So I'm just going to highlight down to PT3, but there is a potential fourth price target down there at 91. Again, if there is even a way to benefit off of downside here. So this is what we're looking at, and this will also hopefully help you guys understand these trade plans if you just happen to see nothing but a chart posted somewhere. So again, what are we looking at? We've got call entry here, stop loss there, price target 1, price target 2, price target 3. So what are we looking for? We're looking for PSNY, Polestar Automotive to break over 215. That should give us targets at 233, 256, and 291 with the stop loss average down at 201. To the downside, we're looking for a break below $1.65. That should give us targets at 146, 131. I would scale out heavily at 131. That's the current all-time low. Could find support there if it tests again. And then on down to the 0.382 here at $1.15. Potentially, you could take a shot at a fourth price target down at 0.91. Just make sure you're moving your stops up the whole way. Also, again, be very careful. This does have earnings. Oh, I thought it was right after market today. It's a little while before earnings. Sorry, I thought it was like tonight. So yeah, there's some time before earnings actually. So yeah, keep an eye on this one. Good plan. Thanks for the request there, Frank. Appreciate it. All right. So what was the next one? EXPI for Johnny. Well, this is another one I'm not super familiar with actually. EXPI World Holdings, real estate developer. Ugh. Do not like the volume on this. That is a negative dividend. I didn't know that was a thing. They hit you up each quarter and ask you for money. What is going on there? um, hmm. I'm going to Johnny. Do you have a second choice, Johnny? My only concern with this is that it's very low volume, like sub a million on the 30-day, which means it can stagnate, and that's a terrible scenario for options. You're hoping to unload a bunch of stock. Why don't we do this, Johnny? Do you have another ticker request this morning? Maybe something that's, you know, trades with better volume. Shoot me a DM and I'll put together a trade plan and some thoughts for you on this one on the side. But while we're on the live stream, I'd like to focus on something that tickers that would be beneficial for both stocks and options trades. And with this one, A, I don't know if it's optionable, and B, the volume, it could stagnate would be my concern. Um, so any other ticker requests? Kind of quiet in here this morning. Let's see, do I see any other ones that people have already dropped in the chat? No. Hey, what's up, Bell? Good to see you. You're very welcome. Glad you're here. Do you have a ticker request? I need to chart something. We've got 5 to 10 minutes left. I think we can knock out another trade plan. Oh, that's a good one. I haven't looked at Penn in a while. Ooh, Penn and Diz. Well, let's see. Penn running right up against this daily resistance. I haven't looked at this one in a while. Man, it's kind of beat up too. I remember trading. These were a great pandemic bounce back. I mean, because everything got shut down in Vegas and all that stuff for a while, and uh, all these like gambling casino tickers were really fun to trade for a little while there. They just had, let's see how bad those earnings were. Woohoo! Although I've also learned as of yesterday to not rely on trading views data points in here when it looked like Mara beat by like 1,000% last night, and that wasn't even anywhere close to reality. All right, let's take a look. And just real quick, I'm gonna just clear all this up with a quickness. All right. Don't need you anymore. Let's see. Getting into the, yeah, this is the like COVID levels. So let's see what we got. Let me turn these indicators off real quick so I can see all my candles clearly. Definitely threatening something down in this neck of the woods. All right, let's see what we can see. Yeah, there's a weekly level sitting right here. This is kind of interesting. A little bit higher. Yeah, it's sitting right about there. Yep. And here. Thereabouts. I don't know if we're going to use that. I'm going to do one last weekly to the downside here, which is probably sitting right about there. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's take a look at what's that level that we're threatening this morning? 1835. I want to flag this level real quick just so I can keep an eye on it. Where's our last pen trade plan? April of 23. It's been almost a year since I've looked at this. So take a second, but I'll get my bearings. Okay, so that's looking like an interesting potential put entry there. And this is an interesting little. Do I have a daily level that's off a little bit? I think I might. Let's take a look at this. Again, it's been a year since I've looked at this, so things may look a little different. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's right where it needs to be, actually. All right. Oh no, this is the one that I was thinking of. Sorry, I just realized I think this is a little bit higher. Just take one more look at this. Uh, hmm. Or there's just two that are kind of stacked up right there. But this is where the most recent. I'm going to kind of err to the side of the most recent flip of this from support to resistance. I think it's sitting right. Sorry. Yeah, right about there. So I think we've got a shot. Let me take a look at this 4-hour chart real quick. Yeah, it's at an interesting spot for sure, and I like it basing off of this weekly level. Is a little bit of resistance there on the 4-hour. Let's get this dialed in. You know, this is I'm probably being too aggressive. I'd really like to see this break and back test, but I think this thing can make a move over 1842, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it really looks like it could start to recover a lot off of that. Also an interesting 4-hour level here. Just note that. Now the question is these two little wicks right here. Yeah, there's something sitting right in here. Yep, for sure. So quick little level, but it's also really where this gap fires off from, right there down to there. This is also an interesting level. We want to keep that in mind. So I think what we're looking for is a break over that 1842 to play. I mean, kind of splitting hairs between this 4-hour, but I'd say that's Definitely where I would look to scale some out there, there, and definitely up at this weekly level. I keep my stop loss down here at this next weekly level below that we're flipping to support. Actually, I'd even maybe, let's give it that tiny little bit of extra room. That's where I'd have my stop loss on this. Yeah, no, I think you've made a good case for this one to recover. Honestly, Bell, I like it. And then I do like this break below this weekly level for downside, so we can share a stop loss with our upside trade plan. The only final question is, because I certainly have not dug into smaller time frames down in this range, is where do we need to be thinking about taking profit? Where are key levels down here? What is this? May of 20. Let me go back. All right, let's see what this looks like. Candles are, yeah, this COVID recovery volatility is next level. But this is an interesting spot right here. Yeah. Yep. That would be my first price target. Below that, let's see. Lots of support on that. Let's go back a little bit. See if this clears up for us at all or makes itself apparent. Not really selling me on this level so far. There's something in there though. Yeah, I think there is actually. Yeah, I like that second price target. Third target, play this little flip right here on the daily level. So this is what it would look like. And there is a chance, I'm just going to throw it out there. Yeah, I like this as a potential fourth price target. If the market really gets moving and this really starts to follow and recover from this earnings drop, let's also, before we get too far into this, don't want to neglect my indicators, make sure there's not any kind of a little bit concerning, but there's room up before we really get deep into this potential selling pressure range between that 200 and 333. Does have confluence right there at that 1935 level though. Just pay attention to that. If you start to see a rejection near 1935, you know, don't be afraid to scale some profit out and move your stops up to break even from an option standpoint. Just with that hourly 200 sitting right on top of that 4 hour level, that's a decent confluence of resistance I'd be aware of and mindful of if I'm in a trade on this. And again, what I'd really like to see with kind of setting us right at this pre-market high is a breakover and a back test of 1842. Just be careful rushing in too close to open if it pushes over. Try to wait for some kind of confirmation. We'll leave this fourth price target up there on the high side. But again, ultimately, you should be pretty much all out by the time we get to PT3. But here are your 10 trade plans. Thank you very much for the request, Bell. Appreciate it. So what are we looking for here? We're looking for a break over 1842 on Penn. That should give us targets at 1975, 2083, and 2219 with the stop loss average down at 1746. Again, be mindful of that 1935 200 SMA confluence here on the hourly. keep that in your kind of side view there. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 1647. That should bring targets at 1432, 1286, and 1081. With those targets being a little bit stretched to the downside, make sure you buy plenty of time. It may not be I mean, we do tend to take the elevator down and the stairs up, but the elevator ain't always fast. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time to work through those price targets. With the stop loss average down, shared with the upside trade plan there at 1746. That is your pen trade plans. Those are your pen trade plans, I should say. All right, we are at 9:15 on the dot. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. We will be back next Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. So I hope you guys will come back for that. Come ready with those ticker requests. Get those in early so I can get to everybody's, or we can get through as many of these as we possibly can. So I want to thank you guys for joining me again. Go out there, get some green today and to close out this week. And as we always say here on the FOMO live stream, plan your trades, trade your plans. I will see you guys back here next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and in the chats here at Xtrades in the meantime. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Talk to you soon. Take care.